Education. Hectic. Oh, bro, I've never heard the original. That's so bad of me.
You haven't heard the original?
I'm talking about the Pink Floyd, the house version. 2000.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is the original.
It's an absolute... Bro, what a fucking track.
Chasm in the classroom.
Man, that's gorgeous.
Teacher, leave those kids alone. Wait for it, wait for it. Hey, teacher, leave those kids alone.
What a classic. I don't want to be uncultured. Who is this?
I'm gonna
Pink Floyd. One of the biggest bands ever.
Yeah, I know
I'm gonna
Pink Floyd.
literally destroy
Everyone
them.
just wore those fucking t-shirts, remember?
Yeah, it's very like we wouldn't have listened. I didn't listen.
I mean,
to
like, there's a couple of classics.
Bro, that's 70s, 80s. It's like before all of us.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, well before all of us. But
This is the sort of thing I
Obviously.
play, and I'll be my parents, and like we'll put something on the Google speaker for no apparent reason. Mum will be like, "Oh my god, this is music from my time."
Yeah. Burns me with mom, so I was like, oh, shut up, mom, I love you.
Or like we put on like Mamma Mia or something, and we're like,
ABBA gets the mums going.
"Oh
ABBA.
my
I love
god, bro,
ABBA.
there is nothing that gets the mums going like ABBA."
Mate,
Yeah,
should
yeah.
see them at the BVH, mate. They go wild.
hey, guys, this is back in the day.
No, back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Not
Back in the day.
BBH.
Cut it. Have a beer.
Is there a reason you put on that song? Is that what are we talking about
Oh
today?
yeah. Oh yeah. Education.
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 Education. Got 3 dropouts talking about education. That's going to go well.
Perfect.
Hold on to your pants.
We thought we might revert back to stuff that was actually relevant to the name of this podcast.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point.
I like
Alright.
how we're slowly fading that song out. Just like,
Yeah, I know.
it's
It's on your phone, isn't it, Shawnee?
Just in the background.
yeah, that was cool.
YouTube, please let us play this.
Without
on
getting copyrighted.
Man, not to like, just like dive straight into like probably what would be like right in the middle of the podcast. But I was just thinking about this the other day. Like, obviously I use ChatGPT a lot for like work and everything. And we've even discussed this on the podcast before, but what the fuck, what is stopping a kid now from literally going literally just whatever the question is or whatever the task or assessment is, literally putting that into ChatGPT, asking it to say it in a certain tone. Like, there's got to be a way to...
Absolutely nothing.
I don't
Yeah.
think there's anything.
There's
At this-
nothing.
at
Right
this point in
now,
time,
like
right
I think
now.
there probably will be, but man, it's like just to think how that will like. I mean, I feel like there was already enough like just regurgitating and memorizing stuff when I was in school anyway
Yeah.
that people would just do. They wouldn't actually understand, but like to be able to do that, even for me, when I think about the real estate course I was doing, I was telling you guys, I was putting the question into ChatGPT and literally going,
Yeah, but that's all for assessments that you do outside of like exams.
yeah, exactly.
Like,
Maybe they'll weight exams higher in the future.
But
Yeah,
I think
potentially, or make the assessments a lot. Or they'll just have technology where they can scan it and see if they've. I don't even know. Actually,
that's
yeah,
more
I don't
of
know.
like
that's a hard thing to think.
showing of how useless like memorizing like information is more than anything.
Yeah,
you know
but
what I mean?
do you remember like having to write essays in English and history and classical studies and
Writing?
writing?
What's that?
Did you not? No, you fucking wrote.
Reading?
Don't tell me you were on a laptop. No,
No, I just kind
No,
of just
I
like...
couldn't read. Maddie couldn't write.
Wait, were you? No, at school. Were
I
you?
was
Were you on
very-
a computer or were you?
Well, we had
writing?
computers in front of us and we could
Yeah.
always type
Oh,
on
no
Google
way.
Docs. But
Nah,
I
we
always...
written.
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
actually computers. I was fully written.
I fully wrote my stuff, but a lot of people just like typed on Google
But you
Docs.
had
Wow.
laptops.
Yeah, we had laptops.
Oh,
In
bro.
class. In class, yeah.
In
we
class,
didn't do that,
yeah.
yeah. So at our college,
That's
all
a big
the students.
difference.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have them.
you'd-
No,
yeah.
we were
No,
like
we didn't even.
we were like 5 years off that. I'm pretty sure.
Did you have typewriters?
Yeah, typewriters. Yeah,
But a bunch.
good one. But we have in our classes at the moment, all our students have their laptops, and they just work on the
Must be the
laptops. It's
most
crazy.
distracting thing. I don't know.
No, not really.
No?
It's actually pretty good, actually. It's even pretty good to mark as well. It's easy to mark as well, to mark their work instead of written, because sometimes the students writing shit,
Yeah.
and it's hard to mark.
So we're just some minor adjustments.
Hang on.
occurring.
Oh, so you change it again.
What are you doing, bro?
I'm trying to unscrew this because I don't like that being.
Nah, just leave it, bro.
Just leave it. Yeah.
I love you, cunts.
But yeah, where
Yeah,
did
so
you
you-
go to school?
I went to school at Trinity Grammar, the posh one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because I,
Throw it in
heard- I heard one of the boys talking at the cafe yesterday. He's like, "Yeah, I went to Trinity," and then he said Auburn, and I'm like, "Yeah, not that one." Not Gronk in that one, of course, but like, yeah, no, Trinity in Ashfield, Summerhill.
Yeah.
Yeah, good school, private school. Yeah, like honestly, very like very, you know what, the one thing that I really did like about it was how well-rounded the school was in terms of like, you know, academics and your sport. And if you wanted to do like music or sport or whatever, there was the opportunity to really like excel in those areas. But, and like we've touched on this before, I certainly don't, I think that the way that the system at least was designed from an education perspective, certainly in high school and stuff, didn't really suit me in terms of the way I learned. Like you see me, I'm a pretty hyperactive, high energy guy, right? Like,
Really?
Couldn't imagine you in a classroom
bro, honestly, I was like
bouncing off the
like
walls.
I just like imagine me just at feet under the desk for like 9 periods a day, 40
Bro, I
minutes
don't know.
a period.
Yeah, man, it's so
Or that
messed
kid.
up, bro. They shouldn't have kids like just sitting there. They're not doing anything. for
Maybe,
them.
but I feel like they have done. It sounds like a lot has changed actually, even since I've been at school, because you know I hear more about like this. You know, even like when it comes to kids, like you know you got Montessori, which is more hands-on for preschool. Like I hope and I feel like there is some like it's evolving, but certainly kind of the way it was prescribed years ago very much didn't suit my style of learning. And yeah, not to toot my own horn, I'm a reasonably intelligent guy, so it's not like it's not like I didn't have the potential to excel at school, but I didn't in the later years because just my learning style.
And looking at the difference, like my school, I said before, I went to a boarding school back in NZ, and it was a top 3 school in New Zealand financially. Not because of the parents of the students that went there, it was just because where the actual school was situated, it had land, had a lot of land, and they had amassed a lot of wealth from that, and so boys who went there were underprivileged. So we were very fortunate to be able to go to the school. But the change that they had now is in year 9, because my nephew goes there, he's in year 11 now, I think. In year 9, they actually go to a rural campus. So you have year 10 to 13 at the school, they're doing their traditional learning, but in year 9, they go to a rural campus out in the country. And they do more things outside of the classroom than inside of the classroom.
Yeah, wow.
So, and that a rural campus,
That's
right?
sick.
So they do farming, and they do agriculture, and they do all these types of things, community type stuff, and that's their year
That's
9.
amazing.
And then they go from there into year 10, and they go into the
Sorry,
schooling system.
to remind me, was this was your school?
This is my school, yeah. So Dilworth,
So did you
Dilworth's
did
campus.
you did
No.
no,
When
different
I went
campus.
there, they didn't have
They
that.
didn't have that.
I think they brought it in maybe 5-6 years ago, but my nephew went through it. And
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, so that was. I
How
thought that
old
was
is your
pretty
nephew
cool.
now?
Well, he's year. I think he's year 11. So I think he's 14, 15.
I'd be
I
interested
think.
to see like how that like impacts him going into adolescence, or he sort of is in adolescence now. But you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
how that impacts like what he does and his. Because I mean, I feel like that stuff is I feel like that's like a lost, well, not a lost art, but like a lot of that kind of, you know, maybe that like hands-on,
There's value.
like
That was
work with the land sort of stuff is like
Yeah,
that
yeah, 100%.
doesn't no one you don't go near that
And
unless your family's in it or something. You know, like I got a mate of mine who I mentioned before, J Ray. He's his family had a farm and stuff, so he got to do that. But yeah, most of us don't.
Yeah, so I think it's great. Like when I first heard about it, I was like, man, that's weird. Like obviously because it's not what would usually happen. But yeah, after seeing it, like so I obviously follow them on social media, but to see what they do and all the hands-on stuff that they do, and they're pretty much in rec gear the whole time. So like their recreation gear, right? So like their sports top and their sports shorts, and that's all they wear. Like there's. I'm sure they wear the uniform at some point in time, but they're on a rural campus and they're boarding, so they're bored there. They stay there during the term. So yeah, I mean, again, like you said, it'll be pretty interesting to see how that sort of goes over the next 5 to 10 years when they come out of school, and how that's actually helped them in whatever way it does.
Isn't this so interesting? Sorry, man.
No, that's all right, bro. Go on.
I was going to say, isn't it interesting how, like, you know, as a parent, or, you know, I'm not a parent, but, you know, parents have children and they, of course, you know, as they rightly should, tend to put their children in an environment that is maybe what they had or what they want or wanted for themselves. And, you know, how that kind of impacts the child's upbringing. Like, for example, let's just say your parents are, you know, like, I want my child to be like super academic, and, you know, that child gets into a selective school or a really high academia school, and like how much that kind of shapes that child. And then on the other side, like, let's just say the parents are like, oh, I want my boy to be really kind of hands-on or
more adventurous,
more outdoorsy, what have you, and they put them in the rural school or a school that is rural, and then how that how, because I mean, it's such a long nurture period of your life.
Yeah,
being
100%.
at school,
Yeah.
right? So it
Yeah.
really does shape,
Influences a lot.
who you
into-
are, and you know.
And you're talking about the Montessori school, because I had a client, she went to a Montessori school, and it's very different, isn't it? Like,
I don't exactly know,
very-
but
yeah.
they do like, I think what they do, from what I understand, is they have like a number of stations set up around the preschool or the school. If anyone knows more about it, feel free to kind of let me know. But yeah, they have like stations set up, and it's a lot of it's like hands-on free play for the kids. Like they're able to go in and experiment.
Yeah.
And it's not so much about teaching, but letting the child kind of explore.
Yeah,
And
it's more of a personal choice, isn't it, for that child?
Yeah.
Not fully, not like, oh, you just go do what you
what
want.
do they gravitate towards, though?
Yeah,
you
what
know?
are they like, and actually working on that to move towards that. And that's what I found with, and we talk about the traditional way of going through education, which is something that we all went through. Because you went to Oak Hill, didn't you, Matty?
Yeah, I went to Oak Hill in Castle Hill.
Yeah.
Great high school, loved it. But just touching on before that, I went to St. Bernadette's in Castle Hill, which was a primary school, but we were the first grade, I'm pretty sure, in New South Wales that introduced like open learning.
Okay.
Yeah, it was open
Yeah.
learning. It was really cool. So it was like getting us
Tell us
ready
about
for
that.
high school.
Yeah.
Bro, super
What does that
interesting.
mean?
What is
What
open?
is it?
Yeah.
Open
Yeah.
learning is just like essentially they knock down the walls in all the classrooms for
your
like,
year?
for year 5 and 6, the whole cohort, and we would essentially like get used to like high school periods. So like 3 teachers, we all had 3 teachers instead of having 1 teacher for the year, and there was lots of collaborative learning. There was like big rooms with like sort of glass walls, like meeting rooms. It was really cool.
wow.
Like heaps.
It's like a library
Yeah,
almost,
like a
where you can
library.
sort of, like,
yeah, so awesome.
come
bro.
and go and-
MacBooks, iPads, like all that, the whole thing. And I was in year 6, and it was like,
Wow, bro.
we had so much fun, man. Like a bit more focus on like sort of our creativity and
Interaction.
just interaction and things like that. So that was awesome, getting us ready for high school. And then, bro, I got nothing but good things to say about Oak Hill College. I think it's a great school. A lot of I think successful alumni from that school. Ryan Pappenhausen, NRL player. Both Luke Keary, Brendan Jack, Kieran Jack. So huge focus on sports and rugby there, which I played rugby league, but I played a bit of rugby at school as well, which I love.
They did union as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
were
'cause
predominantly
I
rugby school.
played them in union once.
Yeah, they're a
well,
union school.
we like
But it wasn't part of the comp.
Oh, yeah.
Seconds.
Seconds.
And we had Scotty C, and the boys come through.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
so the
yeah.
standard's
Oh,
pretty
Scotty
high.
C,
when
yeah,
you're
yeah.
buying players in. So
Bro, it was-
probably would have fucking dropped you too.
Nah,
maybe.
bro, I fucking would have run over you.
Nah, you probably would have run.
Beat you
over
in the
me.
mall.
You're- Look at your heads made out of rocks. You fucking lumberjack.
Nah, so Oak Hill was a great school, but in general, if we're talking about education system in general, I do think like if there was a bit more of an emphasis, like, because I can't really remember exactly the things that I learned and how much of an impact that had to me after school in terms of the content that I was learning. More so the interaction, more so like the social side of the school. The fact, obviously, that we're lucky enough to choose what we're learning in year 11 and 12 to a degree. In terms of our selections for what we want to study.
Did you know at that point in time what you wanted to do, like for both of you? Like, did you have a clear idea of what you wanted?
Bro,
Or not?
Yeah, I knew that I wanted to open a cafe, bro.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, there you go.
Bro,
Yeah,
from
yeah,
when I was in year 8.
So there was nothing that from the options that you were given in year 11 and 12, you were like, oh, that's what I want. It was more so, okay, I'm just going to pick these ones just so I can sort of...
No, the mindset that I had at school was I like to think quite a mature one. It was always like, I'm here to have fun with my friends and have and do this because I need to and have a good crack and test myself in sports and meet a lot of people and and do my best. And whatever result I got in my HSC, like I studied ish and I got 75.0 on the dot.
Oh, shackers.
Yeah, it was, man, not bad. So like, and I did fuck all, man. Like even in maths, bro. I dropped maths in year 10. I was just drawing.
I should have done
that. My teachers always knew that I was intelligent, but just didn't want to pursue anything that I didn't find any value in. And I don't think a lot of teachers. I think a lot of teachers can't argue with that, especially when they're faced with a mature student that's like, listen, I'm sitting here. I know what I want to do. Like I'm not disturbing anyone. I'm here to listen, but like I'm not going to sit here and write some bullshit because I have
Until
to.
the Arab and the Asian parents come in.
Yeah. But
My fucking child will...
But you know what? My parents were like number one, like dad wasn't even home at that time anyway. And like, oh bro, I gave some of my teachers hell, especially if they were just like, I think for them, like looking on like their perspective, I had the ability to garner support from my peers. So it was always kind of threatening if I was just like disobeying the teacher, because then everyone would be
You're
like,
that guy.
Yeah, Maddie's not listening, so that's all not listening. So she had to like make an example out of me, or like I used to carry those Cadbury chocolate boxes to sell. Me and my mate Liam, we used to be like fundraiser. They were like, we're not fundraising for anything. Like we just used to buy these Cadbury chocolate boxes directly and just used to make bank, bro. Literally, and she'd be like, you can't sell those in class. I'm like, just shut the fuck up. I'm just a few more chocolates to sell and then sell the photos.
So they'll be looking at the roller. Oh, fuck, got Maddie this year.
That was a good kid. That was a good kid.
Well, what did you do? What did you choose in
You
year 11
definitely
and
were
12?
not a good kid.
What did you choose?
What did you choose?
For subjects in terms?
Yeah.
Subjects?
Yeah,
Oh,
for the subject you got to choose.
Shit, I picked.
Because what did you want to do then? Like, did you know?
Well,
Or
I
did you have
had not a fucking clue
Yeah,
in the world.
I-
In
you
fact,
said that.
I didn't have a fucking clue even through uni. Like, I was pretty much lost in relation to what I wanted. I never even had any sort of idea. I don't
Yeah.
even remember having any real, like, aspirations as, like, oh, that would be sick. Like, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed, like, you know, I was fucking... Like, I mean, I know people that when they're, like, decent... I was good at basketball, right? But, like, I didn't really... Even then, I wasn't like, yeah, I want to, like...
Be in the
go
NBA.
NBA.
Oh my god.
or whatever,
NBL.
NBL or whatever, you know? I just had a good time there. But, yeah, so I never really had any aspirations as to what I wanted to do. I was just kind of like trying to... And I think that was always, like, part of the problem for me is that, like, I'd lacked the motivation because I had no idea even what route... I mean, there were a lot of kids who were like, oh, I want to do this because my dad or my uncle or someone that I know does this, therefore, like, they have an idea of what they might want to do. The only thing I can remember ever wanting to do when I was in, like, primary school... I don't know why, but to be a scientist, just because I like fucking fucking around with
Test
the Bunsen
tubes and
burners and shit.
But let me just
Remember
say,
science class? That was so
that
cool.
was the most fun, bro.
Yeah.
That was just mess around with chemicals
And then
and
shit
shit.
would something would blow up.
Yeah.
We did cool shit in
And-
science
and
in
Mr. Lee would
Yeah,
fucking lose
cut
it.
human like goat brain and all this
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Well,
sheep's heart.
sheep's heart and all that stuff.
Did you guys have fucking food tech? I just remember
Food tech.
Food tech
Yeah,
was
yeah,
the
yeah.
goal.
Food tech.
Food tech was like you used to like, bro. I remember Fridays. It was like wake up, get to school, like 2 studies in the morning. So you get that
Yeah, yeah,
recess.
yeah.
Then
Friday
you got like
was a lunch.
sport, like until lunch, and then lunch is like
Yeah,
science in the
And then, like,
afternoon.
food tech and like woodwork.
tech.
Wood tech.
Bro, I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
those days. Love that shit. But there's an a good point to stem them from is like you're posing the question of did you know what you wanted to do based on the subjects you chose, and could you like formulate an understanding of what you wanted to do after school? But that's assuming that we use that to then choose a direction or career path or what we're going to study. And I think that's where we're going to talk about today is like how unrelevant or irrelevant, I should say, are those choices in terms of what we're going to do.
Bro, I wanted to do everything. So I did economics, I did woodwork, I did food work, I did PE.
And did you want to do all those things
No,
when you did that?
I had that thought process like, oh yeah, economics, that sounds pretty cool. My mate's doing it, let's go do that.
100%.
And then, PE was probably PDHB, I think they call it here, was the one that I was like really interested in because obviously it's sports. Not the actual, the bookwork at that time, but I would go do everything, right? So even like you say with maths as well. So bro, this is what, in year 11, I got into year 11 maths. Somehow, who knows what happened. And then me and my mate were like, fuck, we don't want to be in here. Like, we hate maths. We're going to be shit at it. And there were obviously all the group that was really good at maths. And we knew that we weren't going to be very good at it. So we said to our, one of the teachers
Make
who
friends
was...
with the Asians.
Well, there was a learning support
Badly.
teacher. We didn't have many Asians in school actually, but we went to the learning support
Indians.
teacher and we said, "Hey, look, we really don't want to be doing this. Can we do something else?" She ended up putting us in the back classroom because you'll have all your classrooms lined up in the back classroom with the head of maths, and we'd go there for the whole year. So the two of us would go into this classroom. He'll put up some stuff on the board for us to do. He'll leave us in there. He'll go into his office and do what he wants, give us the radio, give us Time magazines, and we'll just sit in there for a whole class for the year and just fuck around.
That's irresponsible. To be honest with
Right,
you.
because he was the head of maths, so he had so much stuff to do. So by the end of it, we'll go to class. The radio would be there already. All these magazines would be there, and we'll just sit on our phone and just chill out. So, but anyway. That was sort of my mindset going to school, and even these subjects that we talk about, like, was there anything that I wanted to pursue or do? In the moment, it was like, yeah, that looks cool. Like, I might want to go to that. Yeah, that looks cool. I might want to do that. But as you say, like, there was nothing that really took my sort of thoughts to go and do something like beyond that to go to uni. So.
Well, there's this school of thought that like we always have, you know, a ladder in front of us. We get to kindergarten, it's like, all right, graduate, get to year one. You know, you follow through, you finish primary school, you go into high
Get
school.
your pen license.
It's like
Get your pen
linear.
license. Yeah, it's just continue, and then, you know, they're just preparing you for the working world to just work your way up this corporate ladder, which is kind of like funny because I'm about to start in corporate in sales, in tech sales, but, but it's more for the learning
That's
of that
not the
skill.
Matrix
Yeah.
though.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like,
it is what it is.
It's different because it's
Yeah, but if you think beyond that, then you know, if you think outside of that, and you think it's something that you're going to take from a skill to go and do whatever
That's right.
you want,
Yes.
then yes, definitely.
Totally.
Yeah. Like
I
you're using it for that later stage in your life.
like the amount that you will learn, and I mean that we all like learn from doing.
But like that's exactly what you're saying, you're learning via experience. Like how much can you possibly learn in school, learning the theory, the concepts of things? We were speaking about it this morning based on just like, there's an idea and we're just going to study this concept. And I think that's just like the worst way to learn is when you're just like trying to put together ideas when you've never actually practiced it.
Yeah.
Well, and now they're even starting to. I saw it somewhere. I can't remember where, but they're starting to implement like, you know, like a money smarts, you know, little subject.
Right.
Or,
For
like
school.
I think they're starting to realize. I mean, we always see that stuff on social media. Like they don't teach this, or they don't teach that. So I think they're starting to catch on. Like, you know, teach us the fundamentals of like basic finances and like how to manage your money and stuff like that. Like I think that like there's a lot of benefit in some of the like practicality of those areas that, like you said, we do not touch. Oh, I don't fucking remember us touching on that stuff at all. Maybe in like business studies, like, you know, you got a little bit of that sort of stuff. Oh, I did that.
I used to love business
I
studies,
loved
bro.
it, yeah,
Market
same.
day, I was CEO of the year.
Selling your chocolates?
No, bro. I sold kafta burgers.
What's this?
So, like in year 9, we have market day, and that was the first year you choose like an elective. So I chose like business studies.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, you find a group with your mates, and then you have market day, which is like selling a product at school
Oh,
for 2
that's
Fridays
hectic.
in a
That's
row.
cool.
And everyone was choosing different things. And then I remember I was like, we don't want to just do burgers. Everyone's just doing plain burgers. Everyone's doing like sausage sizzles and just like average food. So I was like, let's do kafta. But put it in burger form, and bro, I'm telling you, this shit went off, bro. Our line for the 2 weeks, we sold out in like 15 minutes.
Lamb burgers.
Lamb kafta burgers, and we're called Crazy Kafta Burgers. That was our business. We got to like advertise our product on the PA system of the school,
Yeah, it's
and then. So I went in at lunchtime.
No way on the PA system.
On the PA system.
That's mad.
Yeah, bro. Like, and we had a full script written down. As soon as I turned the mic on, I looked at the script and I fuck that, I'm going in like different. So I went, Shu Habibis, come down to Crazy Kafta Burgers, get your Kafta Burgers. We got that straight OJ Toom sauce, garlic, this, that. And bro, it was a hit because
People
everyone
would've
rocked
pissed
up.
themselves.
The Aussies
The
will love
head
that.
of
Even funny
business,
as well,
the head
yeah.
of business came up to me and was like, "What was that? You didn't go anything off the script. That how dare you this that?" But then like she like. I don't know if she like took 2 steps back after that because she saw the line, saw that we're just killing it.
Shut
And not
up.
giving me like CEO business of the year, and I was just like, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's hectic.
So you got to feed the kids like what they naturally gravitate towards. Do you know what I mean? And just like highlight their talents, and I think like feed off that, and it gives the kid a lot of like, you know, self-confidence and an image of their capabilities. When you just try and mold a kid into a box and be like, yep, sit in here, memorize these facts, man, that's not beneficial for the teacher or the student.
And that's it. I think maybe for the way that I guess the workforce looked like 30 years ago, probably did. That's how they formulated the curriculum.
Yeah.
That curriculum was formulated so that it would produce, like you said, the
workers
the
and
middle class, whatever, you know, it was
worker
designed
bees.
to create the like low to upper, low middle
I get
class
ya.
or whatever,
Yeah.
and bring those people out. And then obviously it's the type of thing where ultimately, let's be frank, the education system is run by the government, and the government moves very, very, very slowly.
Hasn't changed.
Yeah, and it just
Hasn't changed very
it just
often.
moves very slowly just by virtue of like a million factors to do with like. I mean, you could even put it down to like, you know, not always the case, but even generally speaking, a lot of the public sector people that work in public sector, it's just more kickback, right? There's just less focus on profit and more just focus on like, you know, operation, and there is that operational excellence and improvement and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think that like I would hope that like when, you know, I have kids, you know, God willing, and I'm able to put them in school, that I would see some of those changes that have come through, because as you said, you don't want to put everyone into this prescribed, you know, way
Box.
of learning, because you want them to thrive in areas that they, you know, and like, I mean, that also is the job of the parents too, right? Like, I mean,
that's what I was.
a big part of that is, you know, me going through school. You know, you mentioned dropping maths. Like, I wanted to drop maths, but no, like Egyptian background. They're like, no, you got to do these types of subjects so you can scale well.
this.
When
You
realistically,
become doctor.
what I probably should have done is, I
Lawyer.
should have done drama, I should have done like maybe like media, like that sort of stuff.
Fun stuff.
I still did some subjects I really loved, like business studies, and I really enjoyed like biology. But there were definitely subjects and areas that I should have probably shelved in order to like move to what I naturally was drawn towards and had an affinity for.
Yeah, but I think that schools, obviously there's the students that need to do these things because they want to go on to be doctors, lawyers, X, Y, and Z. So there's one side of it, but then there's the other side, like us, from what we've said, where we didn't really want those things.
No.
We didn't even know that what we wanted. So I think for a lot of us, school was just a bit of a babysitter for us, for our family, so they can go and provide for us outside of it. But
we also
going back
didn't
to
have those options, right?
True.
Like we didn't ultimately, regardless of what we wanted, like we didn't. And I'm just trying to provide the other perspective. Like when I think about my kids in the future, I think to myself, like as much as I want them to be drawn towards what they want to do, I don't necessarily want them to do what I did because I feel like they still have more options if they do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway,
but
sorry,
then going back
Sean.
to like when you say about parents, like I 100% agree. Like I think, your parents are your first leaders, they're your first educators, they're your first mentors. And although I think there should be some life skills within school, I think you got to teach that stuff as a parent. Like you've got to show your kids your finances. You got to show your kids all these things that you're doing and how you're surviving in life, so they get a better understanding of what's going on in the real world, as opposed to like going to school and then this is finance 101 and this is what you have to do. Like if you have a kid and you're renting a house, show them how you're doing it. Like how did you find this place? Like what did you have to do? Did you have to go to the bank? Did you have to get money? Or whatever it may be. And again, I'm not a parent, so I can't sort of speak on that too much, but I know when I'm a parent, like that's what I want to do.
Yeah. For sure.
Like when I'm working out the finances, I want my kid to sit next to me and be like, all right, we're paying the bills. This is how you do it.
Yeah.
I think that's really valuable.
You know
bro.
what I mean? So
I've got an awesome example of that actually just sprung to my mind. On the weekend, Kristen and I went down to the Life Interiors, which is like a furniture company, warehouse sale down in Eastern Creek. And we got there and there was this lady and she was actually talking to my sister's sister-in-law who just happened to be there. She just bought a table and a little girl was there who I'd assumed and it ended up being this lady's daughter. And we ended up finding out later that they own the business or their family runs that business. Very successful, probably one of the most well-known, if not the most well-known, like boutique furniture, like, it's really cool, aesthetic. Like we got this, did we get this chair from there? Fuck
Okay,
These
you
chairs.
got nice home decor.
Yeah.
All right, fuck you.
move on.
Where was it for my mates?
So little girl,
Rudely
she was
interrupted me.
talking, little girl.
Pause. So a little girl was there, and anyway, I spoke to my sister's sister-in-law, and she's like, "Yeah, we just bought these two chest of drawers or whatever," and she's like, "Yeah, that little girl was actually the one that we were dealing with." And the mum actually would allow this little girl. She was hopping around this warehouse, like she was so familiar with it,
Detective.
and she would. So anyway, we went to buy a table there, and I brought the lady over, the main lady. And she's like, it was listed at, I think it was like $1,250. And she said, like, look, we can do something on it. Like maybe we can do it for like $1,000.
The little girl said
no,
that.
No. The mum said that. She said $1,000. I said, look, I'm not gonna lie. I was thinking more in the realm of 800. Like that's where my head was going.
Yeah.
And the mum said, look, it's going to be hard for us because like, maybe we can do it for like $950. And I said, look, I'm going to have to stop you there. I'm going to have to talk to the real negotiator here. And I went down to the little girl and she was like, all right, how much do you want it for? And I'm like,
500.
I'm like, look, I said 800. And she's like, look, how about 850? And I'm like, 820. And she's like, 8:30, and I put my hand out and I shook her hand.
Oh, that's cool.
And like the mum, like she honoured it. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought to
that's
myself,
awesome.
you know what? Like I don't know if that was a
That's
good
awesome.
cop, bad
You
cop thing.
scumbag.
But like, the fact is that the mother could have easily.
stop the podcast. That's terrible.
The mother could have easily come in and said, "No, I'm sorry. Like I can't do it for that much."
Yeah.
But I don't
So
know if
learning-
she was trying to teach because she did. She allowed her to do that with almost everyone,
That's
and
so
she
good.
obviously valued the education that she was
Of that.
teaching her daughter
so good. 100%.
over
So good.
the additional money that they would have made selling the
Kudos.
table. Because I would have definitely paid more than $830 or whatever we ended up paying for it.
Yeah.
Do
It's
you know what I mean? So that was a really cool example. Of
Yeah,
that.
That's
those
awesome,
skills.
bro.
Yeah, teaching your kids those types of skills that you don't necessarily learn in school. And I really dislike when parents say that, like, oh, school should be doing this or school should be doing that. And some of the things they're saying, I'm like, well, you could be doing that.
That's right.
Well, you could be doing that. Like, that's what you
That's a
should
good
be
point.
doing. And again, I still think that school should have those types of things or life skills and stuff like that. But especially when you're bringing somebody up from a young age, like in the life stages, when you're going through life as an adult, you can go, hey, this is what's going on in life. This is what we're doing. This is the finance. We're moving house. Let's go look at real estate. Let's go, you know what I mean? Like, take them on the journey as well so they actually learn.
Well, there are other alternative methods
skills.
of schooling now. Like, I know homeschooling is becoming like super popular, bro. Especially in America. I got a friend from my church that he lives up in Gloucester, like near Newcastle. He homeschools his kids, and on Thursday and Friday they've got like
group of people
10 or 15 people that
yeah.
homeschool their kids, and then they do like group learning, and they can actually like, there's a curriculum given on the New South Wales government of like mandatory things that they learn, but they're given way more freedom in terms of what they value and the things they learn. And I think if you've got like the financial ability and the time and the patience to homeschool your kids, or maybe the funding to be able to pay someone else to come teach your kids, granted that you can, I guess, create your own curriculum based on more things that you value. I think that's
I think
awesome.
these boutique schools will pop up more and more. I've got a friend of mine similar, quite they're Korean, quite religious, and they chose that, hey, we don't like what's happening in schools at the moment. We don't like the way that what's being taught in terms of values specifically. So we made the decision to homeschool our kids, and I feel like that will, I think, I don't know the way the world's going. I think that a lot of that people will be. And that's the important thing about parenting is, of course, in your house, you tend to focus on values over skills, which is obviously really important. Like there's a focus from parents on teaching your kids values as opposed to skills. And I mean, there's obviously a very big argument for teaching your kids skills, but, obviously, the values piece when it comes to what values are being taught in education system is a really important perspective as well. And some would argue even more important than the actual kind of skills and like hard learning skills that people.
Well, skills can be acquired, I feel like, generally speaking, a little bit later in life, at least post school, whereas values are so hard to unlearn, especially if they're fucked up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, look at the things they're teaching in the US, like critical race theory and teaching these black kids that they're the victim and that, history went this way and that they're always going to be in a position where they're victimized, they're victimized and they're in poverty.
They can't get out of that and they can't,
Bro, you go into Big W and Target and you like
I saw
all these like sex books for kids.
They took it down, everyone was in uproar.
Bro, they should, bro. And you're going to continue seeing this because this is a satanic agenda, but I'm not going to get into that too much, but you're going to see this stuff, bro. Like the sexualization of children. Even that new movie that came out,
Sound of Freedom,
bro. This is real. This is not fake.
Patrick David had a good conversation about that.
Yeah, and Mel Gibson hates him, bro. Ashton Kutcher's doing big work in the behind the scenes. The world is run by satanic pedophiles.
But the thing about it was that they didn't pick it up. Disney didn't pick it up. All the major companies that obviously they didn't pick it up. They didn't want to actually. They shelved it, right? So, but then they went and did it independently, and then actually beat Indiana Jones on a financial
in the box office.
Because they came out on 4th of July.
They were even saying like
they both came out.
The same day.
Same day. So 4th of July, Indiana Jones and that movie came out, and it smashed.
Yeah,
it.
You know what else is
evil.
interesting? Is like how at the same time, two of the biggest movies in terms of the hype. Barbie, Oppenheimer. Like I haven't heard this much hype around cinema movies
literally
in forever, and they just happened to happen at the same
Launched
time.
At the same weekend, totally, bro.
But also,
the same weekend.
But also, there's that Screen Actors. They're having that strike as well. So nobody's working. Not Screen Actors. The Screen Actors Guild and stuff. They're having a strike. So they need to hype it up. They need to hype movies up because no one's working. Like, no one's getting,
even like post school, then you can sort of go into university. Like, I mean, I did 2.5 years of a 3-year degree at Macquarie Uni, and I loved going to uni, bro. Like, it was so much fun. I enjoyed it because after school, I didn't know what I wanted to do 100%. Well, I knew I wanted to open the cafe, but definitely didn't have like the financial means or maybe the experience to then just like leave directly after school. And then sort of bouncing around different cafes. And Mum's like, why don't you just go to uni and just get a degree? And I was like, okay. So I enjoyed that because I was able to travel and then just like...
Bit of freedom.
Yeah, a bit of freedom. And definitely a bit of freedom. But
choice.
100%. But at uni, bro, like... It was a commerce and marketing degree, but I didn't learn anything about like commerce and marketing. There were all these elective subjects that you learn in concept and in theory, and like how much can you actually get from something that you learn in theory?
It's so fucking boring when you're learning that way too, man.
I'm of the belief that
experience is the real winner. Going out there and actually doing it, or going and like if you open up your own cafe, like going and being in a cafe, and being there and seeing what actually goes on and what actually happens, and mastering those skills.
There's a thrill associated with that too, right? Because like when
Jump
you're
in the
sitting
deep
there in
end.
the classroom and learning, and I get the value and all that stuff, but there's nothing is at stake. Like you're sitting there in front of a customer, like something's at stake. That interaction, like it's just that thrill of like being in front of people, being thrown in the deep end and being like
sink or swim.
That first, you know, I don't remember it specifically, but like that first experience in retail of like speaking to someone and then someone being like, oh yeah, actually that t-shirt looks kind of cool. I'll try that on and like,
well,
you know, just I don't know.
The prestige of having a degree like that, and you know the I guess prestige that it once had is no longer valued because anyone has, you know, a run-of-the-mill marketing degree or a commerce degree or, you know, an arts degree for the love of God. But like literally, you know what I mean? Like you finish with that degree and then without putting that into practice, we learned business. I learned more in the 2.5 years of the shop than I did at thing. And I'm a believe that if you're a lawyer and you need to practice law, you need to get your degree to practice in the field.
That's
doctor.
You need the ticket for that.
That's textbook stuff you need to go through and do. 100%. But like that's like me as well. Like, you know, I went to university, but I dropped out. But I've gone and done courses online, hence the dropouts, online. So I've got my certificate 3 and 4 fitness, got my diploma in fitness, my diploma in TAE, teaching and assessment, advanced diploma in coaching. So, you know, although I didn't go down that traditional path where you're sitting in a classroom and you're actually, you know, you're looking, it was all online. And that's what a lot of courses that you can do now online, which is business, which is, you know, management, which is leadership.
But look at
so many options out there other than just going to your traditional path of going to uni. But as you said, like doctors, surgeons, etc.
There's 18 to 23-year-old kids making 6 figures, 7 figures a year, bro, on TikTok. And it's not uncommon. There are people doing.
Shall we just start doing dumb videos? We should just start doing dumb videos,
prank videos, and shit like that.
Yeah, I know, bro. Remember those guys? Those two of the first guys that ever did it were those like Shami and Jackson guys.
Bro, I don't know what Jackson would do. He went
they're still they're still massive
Shami
now.
Yeah, I know, but
they're
Jackson,
just not as like I don't see.
They're not together, and Jackson's just a bit of he's a playboy. He's gone like LA loose.
I met him at the airport once.
No way.
Like years and years ago, I saw him at the airport. I'm like, you Jackson?
I seen Jamie Zhu the other day, even at one of the Christian events, bro. Remember Jamie Zhu used to go to like the tennis and be like, like the tall Asian sort of guy.
Oh no,
Jamie Zhu, bro. Maybe we can get him on, bro. He's a really cool guy, bro. Like he changed his life around. He's no longer doing those like stupid videos.
He goes to church and stuff.
He goes to church. He's like cleaned himself up. Like I think he was on the drugs and shit heavy. He was on antidepressants.
Did some dumb videos, like
did some really dumb shit, bro.
Dumb videos.
Really?
You know what I mean? You can do a lot of stuff for clout, and so obviously it's not like one or the other. It's not like become educated or then go be like a TikTok, you know, just like sell out star. But I feel like there is, you know, should be a lot more emphasis on pursuing your passions and educating yourself as best as more, but just experiencing things more than anything else. Yeah. Diving yourself in the deep end. Like you've experienced a lot. You've experienced a lot traveling, you know what I mean? Working different jobs, not limiting yourself to one sphere or one realm and stacking skills. Now you're someone like, even when I went and have been interviewing at different sales roles, like I don't have my degree, and what was once deemed and like imperative and necessary for you to even get your foot in the door. You wouldn't even get a look in. You wouldn't even get a look in, and now it's like, oh, you have some life skills, you have a character about yourself.
Yeah, so in that field, like the same field, like what was the interview process like? Okay, so you don't have a degree. What are they looking for? Soft skills? Is it, you know, attitude? Is it?
Well, I think from all the companies that I sort of spoke with, who I ended up signing with Rippling, because they're new into the Australian market, they're a little bit more, I guess, free flowing because they have great training, great onboarding. So, you know, those hard skills aren't as, I would say, necessary. However, even across the board, because there's so many people with that degree that they're looking for, which is a business or marketing degree, or, you know, in some way, shape or some way, shape or form in that field, it's less looked in at. It's rather, you know, your competitive drive and you know your willingness to show up, and I think obviously having run the business is like, you know, a little tick next to my name, but
bit of leadership there,
but like I'm sure JP would, you know, agree with me in terms of like what they were looking for in sort of tech sales or sales in general.
Yeah, and I think that like, I mean, even when you look at your background, and this is why even, you know, when you were telling me about it, I'm like, man, like if I was a manager, of anyone that's a manager looking, you know, for people, you know, for SDR type roles, it's just that you don't often get people who have had a good amount of like, whether it be life experience or any sort of even elementary business experience. You're usually just rolling with, you know, tabula rasa, blank slate, you know, candidates.
What was that word?
Oh,
Yeah.
you know,
Explain, please.
John Locke's theory of we learned about it in Frankenstein.
I love
in
how you just
school.
throwing these like cool little concepts, like we know like tabula rasa.
Oh, yeah,
So
we
John
dropped
Locke's
Dropouts.
theory of tabula rasa is a blank slate, and he just talks. There's this theory that like the human mind is a blank slate, and it argues for the concept of nurture heavily.
That's why he's good value, bro. He just
Yeah.
knows that shit.
He
Like I'm
he's
just gonna be
good
talking
memory.
next time. I'm gonna be like, yeah, bro. So when I was at school, Shamanazar. Shazam. You've never heard of that Shamanazar? It's like he's a French artist. He painted in the Revolutionary period, or you know, if you.
As long as
Sorry,
I meant
God.
to say
The
that.
Renaissance.
But I forgot what the fuck I was saying.
The tablet, the blank tablet.
Oh, no, after
Shabala.
that.
Shazam.
Shaman.
Shamala.
DMT.
Yeah, okay, go. Keep carry on.
I literally have no idea what I'm saying. What was I saying, bro? Someone remember.
Didn't I just say Shazam and then your brain
yeah, so
wiped
what people are looking for,
You just
etc.
did that. You remembered.
Hypnosis.
Wavelength. Okay, go quick before you forget
Devil worship. Oi, bro. Fucking hell. Headbutting my TV, this gurunk. Yeah, so like in terms of experience, I mean, when I was first interviewing for an SDR role, I'd gone into working for a recruitment agency. That was beneficial because, I mean, the prerequisite...
Sorry, I just the
fact you
shaman
smacked your
Mazar.
head.
I'm sorry. Go.
No, take the mic off him, bro. Should we mute him? No, don't mute yourself, you grunk. Matty's still here. Yeah, so when you think about like experience, like I mean sales specifically, of course, you know, and I've mentioned this before in a previous podcast when we spoke about all those kind of skills and experience that you learn and you pick up when you wouldn't necessarily traditionally think that would be something that you would leverage later in life. Like I use the example of like working in retail sales, etc. But, you know, I think in our space, the fact of the matter is it's a very low barrier to entry industry like sales. You know, it is. It's not difficult for someone to get their foot in and have a crack at it. So, you know, it's therefore it's easy for the people who have some sort of affinity to it to shine because... you know, there's a lot of people kind of going into. I mean, you think about recruitment, when you see people from the UK or Ireland or what have you, what do they always tend to do when they come here? They go into recruitment.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people that don't necessarily know exactly what they want to do, they might go into real estate or broking, right? Because again,
low
being
barrier
a finance broker, being in real estate, low barriers to entry industries.
And that's what you had, right? When you first went into your job, like, was it like the job before LinkedIn or the recruitment agency? They said they didn't have a role for you, but then they just put you on, and then you just worked your way out from there.
Yeah, well, that was actually LinkedIn, but even at the recruitment agency place, it was a case of they were hiring like junior.
Where was it?
LinkedIn.
Oh, LinkedIn.
No, I'm talking about fucking. But the recruitment agency was the type of place where they were just looking for someone to come in, and they were not necessarily concerned at all about skills or experience.
Yeah.
They were looking for attitude. They were looking for attitude
100%.
and aptitude. And I feel like that's not a lost thing now, but I think like people don't talk about it as much for whatever fucking reason.
Yeah.
But
you
like,
can build those, like as the company, you can build those hard skills as they progress through.
Yeah.
And if they have that sort of system where you come in and you do like 8 weeks where you're doing training, etc.
Exactly.
You can do that, but attitude's hard to come.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. And someone, I think a CEO asked me that, I think it was a couple of months ago, I said something about you know, having like, where does the drive come from? Where does the inherent, like, where does the mongrel come from? We talked about the fact that like, is that dog like that? And I said, she said, yeah, where do you think?
Yeah.
And I literally said, I think it's someone that, like I said it in like, it was actually pretty funny because I said it in like an articulate way, not like the way we say it in the gym.
I've got that canine in me.
Have that
That dog.
you know, that
canine
pit bull in me.
inhabits.
But yeah, like I was saying, like
within.
it's just if does someone have that dog in them, and like I think that's stuff
the
that is.
hunger.
I'm not saying it's impossible to teach, but sometimes people just fucking have it and they don't. I don't know why
Yeah.
exactly.
You do. Yeah, they have it.
It's that initiative. It's that initiative to go out and do stuff. Like
Yeah.
not just sit back and wait for somebody to say, "Oh, hey, can you do this?" or "Hey, can you do
Yeah.
that?" It's
Well,
like,
bro, even with the
no,
podcast,
like,
how many people say I want to do a podcast? We done it. We done it. You know what I mean? We're sitting
We've
here,
done it.
Yeah,
we've
we've
done
done
it.
it.
Cause even like done it. Like, you know what? People make fun of like people who are less educated like that, but like even like my
Is that a dig at me?
bro? No, like I know my uncles
fucking
growing
bully.
up. dude, they were not smart. But
Yeah,
like,
but
they're
it's
some of the
street
most
smarts,
bro,
isn't it?
street smarts,
It's
man.
that, yeah.
Bro, and even like the kids that were at my school, I know a lot of them are like very financially successful from my alumni compared to the
Alumni.
kids that were really like smart in their year group or their cohort that were book smart, but compared to street smarts and where that's actually gotten them in the real world, you know.
Yeah,
what
but
I
that's
mean?
the thing. If you just continually work on that book smarts, you're gonna be in that structure where it's sit down, follow. That's not how life is.
No,
It's not like that.
Not at all,
If
bro.
you go down and become a lawyer or a surgeon, okay, yeah, but if you're gonna go out into the world and do something different, that maybe that didn't work out for you, then you're almost like, oh, fuck, what do I do? Like, how do I go and use these book smarts that I spent so much time, pushing myself onto? Now I've got to use my attitude. Now I've got to use my experience
My
in different
grit.
areas,
Well, I'd like
to
my
think of-
grit, my, resilience, whatever it is.
I get 10 entrepreneurs straight up off your phone. That's the most 10 successful entrepreneurs. I guarantee you
They're
9 out of the
dropouts.
10
Bro,
were,
they're dropouts.
Bro, all of them.
Yeah.
What?
Literally.
They're dropouts.
Oh, I thought you said
Like-
the dropouts is
No,
in
no.
us.
I'm a,
No, they're
Yeah,
dropouts.
yeah.
Bro, they
Steve-
didn't go to uni
Steve
or they
Jobs.
didn't
100%, bro.
whatever it
Steve Jobs
is.
and- yeah,
Even that,
true.
even the guys, underneath there that are millionaires or that are growing companies and stuff like that. Like a lot of them, didn't go to university or dropped out or whatever it may be. And going back to sort of what you're talking about with regards to wanting to get a role or low barrier role, like with regards to personal training, that's how I was like with
Yeah.
hiring PTs. Like I was all about attitude. Like what is your attitude? Because the hard skills, like as a PT, you got to obviously be able to teach someone how to squat and your safety is paramount because you're putting load onto people's bodies. But we can teach that stuff like an 8-week program where I go, okay, what are your skills that you have within with the hard skills, teaching a squat, deadlift, nutrition, all that sort of stuff like that. But what is your attitude in around coming on time, being punctual, making sure you have the right uniform? Having initiative was a massive one for me. Do you have the initiative to go out and do stuff for yourself as opposed to being micromanaged? So I think attitude was one. And I look at my students in my classroom now and I talk to them about, I say to them, hey, whatever you're doing in class now, coming on time, wearing your uniform, interacting with each other, communicating with each other, actively writing notes, all this sort of stuff. Like I look at that, and if somebody from the fitness industry calls me up and says, hey, Sean, I'm looking for some PTs. Okay, I'm actively looking at you guys and going, okay, not that person, not that person, not that person. That person hasn't got a good attitude, so on and so forth. And I'll give them feedback on that. But I'll give them feedback on that. Like, and I said that to them a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about, when you're going into the industry and some of the things that you need to do to be able to get a job that you want. For example, asking the right questions of your employee. But I said to them, like, you guys need to understand that you need to be before you become now. So work on those skills now in your course so that when you go there, you have that right attitude. You're there, you're being before you become. Right, so that's sort of what I look at with regards to hiring people, or what I did for when we had our business. But attitude was always the number one, always number one. Were they willing? And that's why we had those fitness tests before we'd even hire them. We'd get 5 people together and we'd do a beep test, and we'd do a 1-minute row. We'd do how many push-ups can you do in a minute, and we'd see what would they do. Would they give up? Would they do the beep test, and would they just give up and be like, oh, I can't go on? Oh, no, it's because I trained yesterday. I did chest yesterday. Yeah. I don't want to do the push-ups, or I'm on a bulk or whatever it may be. Like, I don't give a shit what you're on.
Yeah.
You're here to get a job. You're here to show me that you're willing to go the distance and do whatever it takes to be able to take this position, and so on and so forth.
Isn't that interesting how, the perception of those students would be that you were judging them based on their physical abilities, but really you were looking at them and thinking, how are they responding to what's going on? Like, similar sort of thing, you see like internally at companies when, I've been at companies before where you'll go for the same job as someone else in your team and, you come out and, it's just not your time. The other person gets the role.
Yeah.
Even coming up through SDR, like it's when there's a lot of SDRs and there's like these AE positions that come around during the year, there's often people that have been there longer and people that are some performing better than others, etc. But really, these companies are looking at the people that aren't getting these jobs and going, how are they going to bounce back? Are they going to go and drive harder now that they didn't get it, or are they going to go, this is bullshit? This is fucking bullshit. So, I think that
resilience.
Do they give up easily? Do they fold easily? Yeah.
I think regardless of how skilled your work is, like, I mean, I've got cousins who are in like surgery programs and stuff, and these guys have been studying for you don't want to fucking know how long. Like, no, but don't get me wrong, they're earning good money now, still earning very good money. But the whole point is that they're on the program, and they still have like exams and assessments and what have you that they do through. Man, they've just been like since uni, they've been on and off studying and kind of in the system for a long time. But you know, even then, it's going to be interesting to see. You know, these guys come out and then eventually have their own practices and surgeries and what have you, and see how everything else plays a part that they have not yet been kind of not assessed on, but they haven't been, you know, as exposed to in a way, you know, like in the hospital environment.
But is there a better use of your time? I'm not saying for them specifically, but just a question in general. Is there a better use of your time to maybe stack skills on top of each other rather than attaining degrees and attaining, you know, certifications?
Yeah,
but if it's specific to what they need, like, you know,
for this specifically, it's
entry
obviously
level,
different, as you
right,
said.
right,
As you
but
said,
disregarding
because
what-
this is like literally a mandatory. Like you cannot operate on someone's body and cut a fucking
unless you
nerve
do this,
because they might fucking die. You know what I mean? Like shit like that. But no, look, I agree. Like, and I think a lot of people tend to. There's a lot of focus now, and even people in, you know, whether it be corporate or otherwise, that are stacking like alternative skills. Maybe it's related to something that they're looking to do as a side hustle. Like a lot of people do that, right? Like Kristen, she did, even though she didn't necessarily need to do it there, she decided, you know what, I'm going to do floristry at TAFE.
I love
And
side
she
hustles.
did it, you know?
Gary Vee talks about them all the time.
But now she's doing it though, right?
Go to
And
garage
now she's
sale.
doing it.
Yeah.
And she hit up like a, you know, the way that she learned, the main reason why she's any good, and she, you know, she just messaged me yesterday saying she got a wedding in October that she
beautiful.
just got a job for, which is awesome.
Congrats,
wedding.
Kristen. Congrats. Well
Yeah,
done.
wedding. Like,
That's
you know,
huge.
like,
Massive.
I think it's like 20K budget. That doesn't mean she gets anywhere near any of that money. But like, you know, and the main reason why she did so well in that is because she reached out to Montana Flora, who's one of the main, you know, wedding florists, like for events and stuff.
Yeah.
And she said, like, can I apprentice with you? Like, can I
Yeah.
literally learn with
Yeah.
you? I'll work for you for an hourly rate on the weekend. She even said at first, I'll just come learn for you for free. And now,
Yeah.
she calls Chris, is like, oh, I really need your help this weekend. Please come and help me. I need you. Like, you know what I mean? So
Well done.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well done.
yeah, bro. So many these side hustles, and I think it's really cool because, like, I think that, you know, the fact that we're in a world that is encouraging that, it's allowing people to, you know, fulfill potential that they might have otherwise not even had a look. Like, they might not have even looked at it because, like, they would have been like, oh no, I stick with my
9
career
to 5
path.
or this.
Yeah,
stay
just,
on
you know.
there.
Whereas now the world is encouraging us to, you know, and it's very easy to go and attain those. There are hundreds and thousands of ways to go on courses and
online
people and
yeah.
whatever, you know.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living. Is that a good closing?
That's a
Dolly.
great song.
Yeah. Dolly
You just
Parton.
reminded me of a song by, you know, Horror Show?
Oh, we wrapping up here, are we? We doing final thoughts?
Final thoughts.
Final thoughts on education.
Yeah,
You don't need
Gary
no-
Vee was like, go to a fucking garage sale, okay? Go
And flip.
and flip things, man. I got baseball cards. I just sold them for like $50. Can you do that 10 times?
Bro, you
$500.
nailed the voice,
No, my voice is
eh?
fucked now.
Gary? Oh my
Yeah,
god.
Gary Vee.
Is that Gary?
Maybe we should get him on the potty.
Imagine.
Well,
Well, I mean,
He's coming.
uh,
What happened?
anyway, so my final thoughts on education is, you know, go and do what you feel like is right for you. Obviously, if you don't want to go to uni and that's not right for you, then don't go to uni. But, you know, have a bit of a plan on where you want to go and what you want to do, and definitely make sure that education is a high priority ongoing. So
Sure.
that the fifth, or growth, which is the fifth basic human need, which is actually spiritual. That obviously is something that we need to continue to do in whatever education that you want. Okay, but I think that once you even get to what it is that you want to do, you can continue to educate yourself within that
Yes.
field, but then also other fields as well outside of that. So education is highly important. Reading, doing courses, getting together with masterminds with other people within that industry. But keep educating yourself.
And I don't think we've used the word like learning maybe enough, but I think
Yes,
that's this
learning is
culture
the-
of like
is the word.
that's the thing. It's really this
Yeah.
culture of lifelong learning that we want to make sure that we're instilling in ourselves.
True, because
Yeah.
educate is like the
It's-
doing word, and education
Yeah,
is like
true.
not the doing word. So it's like it's this clusterfuck
Yeah.
of words. We're getting lost in it. Learning the
Growth,
skills,
I think it's
stacking the
learning.
skills.
It also sounds less like formal. Like education
Yeah,
makes
true.
it sound like
We think school and that
courses
straight
and
away, but
degrees
that's
and
why it's
stuff, you know?
probably an important point to just
Yeah.
say that education is not your traditional forms of uni, school.
Yeah.
Go out there, try different things.
Well,
You know
learning is
what I mean?
also reading. Learning is also watching YouTube videos. Learning is
Yeah,
also,
bro.
Bro,
learning
I
from
can't tell
people.
you, I can't tell you the
Yeah.
amount of
Podcasts.
We're going to
I've
finish
learned
up
so
now.
much shit on
you know,
YouTube.
the book that got me started into property investing. A friend of mine, David Lada, a good friend of mine, recommended it to me. It's called My 4-Year-Old The Property Investor. So if anyone's listening, you're in any way, shape or form interested in real estate or property investing, it's literally the way the book is written is like a dad talking to his 4-year-old about
so
how to
awesome.
invest in, or what property is and how to invest in property.
I
there
love
you
shit.
go.
Like, it's like those books for dummies. You know what I mean?
That's literally what it is.
That's what Shaq did. Shaq, he read Book for Dummies for Business. That's
Oh,
how
did he?
he reckons that book changed his life.
wow.
No.
Like,
Shaq's
obviously not that book, but he said he read that
He's a
and it was
gun.
like now he's,
As a billionaire, 33-degree Freemason though.
Always a pleasure, people.
We love you.
Thanks for
I'm gonna-
listening.
I'm gonna
Get
play the same
educated.
one.
Thanks for listening to 3 Dropouts about how to be smart.
The 3 Dropouts!
Let's go!
Let's hear the song.
We don't need no
control.
I thought we were gonna do working.
Nah, because we're not 9 to 5. We're
Yeah.
fucking whenever we want.
I quit my 9 to 5. Now I work 24/7.
In the classroom.
Shamalala. What's that word?
Shazam!
Tabula rasa.
Tabula rasa.
John Locke's theory of tabula rasa.
Talking out of your ass.
What's up?
Talking out of your arse.
What's our next topic going to be?
Stay tuned to find out. Episode 14 coming
See you guys.
soon.
Check out on the tune.
Bye.
Get
Bye.
alone.